Welcome back to the Chiropractic Podcast. I'm Dr. Osborne, or Dr. Oz, as many of you know me, and we are thrilled today to be sitting down with Keith Wasson. And I almost said Dr. Keith Wasson, and because he knows more than most of the doctors I know, and he does have an honorary doctorate degree, so I can call him that if I want. But we're thrilled to have you with us today, Keith. Thank you for joining us. And I just wanted to start out, like we were talking about, we would think 80 to 90% of the profession know you or your work and what you've done for chiropractic, but your history goes way back. And so, just in short detail, just for those of you those listeners out there that don't know you, maybe kind of what got you into chiropractic, what lit your fire for what's been your purpose for 40 plus years now?
Sure. I was serving in the U.S. Navy, submarine force, and at the time, this would have been 1985, 86, and I had won the Navy powerlifting championships, and I was out on the team out in California, came back and, was in peak shape. I had gone on to win national championships, drug-free lifting, and that kind of thing. But I came back with a sinus headache, which is not a big deal to most people. And the Navy corpsman gave me drugs for it, cleared it up, but it created something else. More drugs for that, something else. And within a very short time, I'm taking 18 drugs a day. Well, you combine that toxic effect with, 21 years of accumulated uncorrected spinal stress from growing up on a farm, wrestling, fist fighting with my brother, and jumping off barns and landing on our necks. And it just sent me into a tailspin, and ended up in the ER. And I spent the next year and a half just a walking zombie. And the doctors at the Navy hospitals finally got me together and said, you may want to get your affairs in order. You're going to die. And these were well-intentioned people. And a few of them would cry at these meetings. They said, we don't know what else to do for you. And I was ready to go. I know where I'm going in the afterlife. And I was actually at a shopping mall buying gifts for my family, like July of 86, 80, somewhere in that time frame. And knowing I wasn't going to be alive at Christmas. And I met a chiropractor who was out hunting patients in the bookstore. And he followed me out to the food court where my ride was going to pick me up and just insisted I come see him. And I went, there's nothing wrong with my back. I got internal stuff, immune system failure. And he goes, well, we can help that. I went, it's ridiculous, But I agreed to see him and went in and saw him, and he adjusted me, and felt no different, none. Actually, I was more tired just going through the whole process. And so I had my ride, and I couldn't drive. Took me home, and I was living on 300-400 calories a day, applesauce. That's all I could keep down. And ate my applesauce, went to bed, woke up the next day, stiff and sore from head to toe. And I thought, what? That's what these chiropractors do. They hurt you one day, and then the next day they're going to fix me. Well, as I'm walking the kitchen, I realized three things. And it's like it was yesterday. I had just slept for 8 straight hours, which I hadn't done in a year and a half. I didn't get more than 2 hours sleep, and it wasn't even good sleep. I had just taken a shower, put on clothes, and brushed my teeth, and I wasn't wiped out. Normally, I'd have to go sit down for about an hour just to recover from taking a simple shower. And I was actually hungry for the first time in, well over a year. And I had tried to eat some other foods, and it wasn't pretty. Let's just leave it at that. And so I boiled a couple of soft-boiled eggs, figuring I knew I was going to throw them up, but I like eggs. And downed them and got my little red Mr. Vomit bucket, as my roommates would call it, and sat in a chair waiting to throw up, and nothing. I went, well, that's interesting. The only thing that's changed, that's improved my life in the last year and a half, was a single chiropractic adjustment. So I went back, and I kept going back. And it wasn't like the hand of God came down, all of a sudden I was miraculously healed, but every day, lifestyle and activities of daily living got a little bit better. I could walk a little further. I could eat sliced tomatoes. Within 2 weeks, I'm driving my truck, which I hadn't driven, in a year and a half. Within 4 weeks, I had put my uniform. I was putting weight back on. Skin was clearing up because I looked rough. And showed up for duty back at my old station. They thought they were coming to my funeral. And fast forward, I ended up full recovery and actually became a better athlete, almost world class, at that point. And I just started investigating because I went to workshops in the area, and it was all about back pain and selecting the right pillows and don't eat sugar, and those are important things, but they never really it didn't really sit with me. And all the brochures in the office were all sciatica and things like that. And I went, okay, that's fine, but where's the immune system stuff? Because my immune system definitely responded, and I started researching it. And there wasn't a whole lot back then. We didn't have the internet. We had microfiche, and I spent countless hours studying at the medical library in Charleston about the immune system, nervous system. And I finally made the connection. And I got a hold of some green books, and that's what really got me. Was I'd read a physiology book, and then I'd read a philosophy, a green book, and I finally put it together. And I remember when it hit me, I didn't sleep for 3 nights. I sat on the couch just all night going, and I just made a vow that I felt cheated, that no one had ever told me about subluxation. None of my coaches, none of my college professors, no one, because they probably didn't know. And I just said, you know what, I'm going to spend the rest of my life communicating this message to the public in whatever way I can, just so they can choose. And if they don't choose it, hey, I'm off the hook. And that's all I've done is public lectures and writing and finding research that supports and validates what chiropractors do. And it's what I've done for 41 years. It's what I'm going to do. I don't know if I have another 40 in me, but at least another 20. And love to take my last breath is right at the end of a chiropractic public lecture, which would be a fun story. But that's the little bit longer than my short story of how I got into it and why. And I'll tell you, the reason I stay is not me. It's I've seen that duplicated literally thousands, if not 10,000 of times. I've had so many emails. I run into people. I'm now running into people who are adults who are in the 3rd generation. You told my grandmother back in the day about chiropractic. She brought my mom in. Mom brought me in, and I honestly get that all the time. I get that frequently, especially with social media and stuff like that, where people recognize the name. And so that's just always been my mission. I haven't been deterred from it, and that's it. And that's what keeps me going.
Wow. Well, on behalf of the chiropractic profession, we thank you for that. And not that I wish ill on anyone, but I'm glad you got sick, because God used that avenue to guide you to chiropractic.
Every bad or negative thing from a human standpoint that ever had happened in my life turned into something good that outweighed the bad by tenfold. Yep. Every single one.
Yep, absolutely. Well, so happy that we do have you in the chiropractic profession, and I know you recently went through another kind of health challenge. How much you want to talk about that, I don't know, but
I'll do it really quick.
Black mold involvement and all that.
I was
crazy
exposed
stuff.
to black mold, toxic, deadly levels. Should have killed me. I spent 9 months in the ER. I was completely incapacitated. Middle daughter found me unresponsive. Took me to the hospital, and I remember the doctors, he goes, "You're one tough old bird." He goes, this would have killed any normal man. And he goes, "And you wouldn't have had much longer. You'd had another week tops." And in the hospital, and they did a great job, which is what medicine does, emergency trauma care. They saved my life, and they were absolute top notch. And then I had, and still am in a sense, rehabbing and just waiting on some other procedures on my abdomen, because that's where most of the black mold sort of collected. And been undeterred. I mean, it slowed me down a little bit, but you work around it,
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I know you've been at this 40 plus years, and we're glad to have you back and still around and still doing what you do. And it is really needed in chiropractic. And, me being in chiropractic for 36 years, 37 years now. Of course, I've seen changes along the way. You've been even longer than that you've been involved with it. And obviously, we've had a lot of changes on how to get information and that. You were talking earlier about you had to try to get microfiche and dig stuff out about chiropractic, and there just wasn't a lot there when you started developing this. Well, now everything's at the fingertips of everyone, right? And the information is out there. But, you know, we've obviously seen changes in the profession over that time period. Anything that really sticks out to you about how the profession has changed, or our education, or just the overall, you know, thought processes on chiropractic and what it does? What's your take on that? I'd
kind of a two-part answer. Back when I got started, those chiropractors who were devoted to subluxation correction as their primary thing, and I have no problem, and actually applaud doing other things along with that if necessary to overcome limitation of matter. But the people who were adamant about that, you used to call them the super straights and stuff like that, and they're all my friends, but they were a small isolated group. Most of the people were you know, back and pain and stuff like that, and headaches and things like that. And I've seen a huge number of those doctors who now at least embrace subluxation in part and understand the role it plays in systemic health. And there's more research than ever has been, and it's incredible research. If there's a disconnect, it's they don't always know how to communicate that research. And let's face it, research, it's written by academics, guys and gals with 2 or 3 PhDs who are trying to impress other 2 or 3 PhDs. And even a typical smart doctor like yourself looks at it and goes, I don't know what they're saying here, or I don't even want to take the time to learn, you know.
Right.
Let alone a layperson. And so part of my work is taking that, breaking it down. I read and retain extremely fast. I mean, I was tested as a kid, you know, I'm off the charts, so I can go through that really quick, and then break it down into a layman's, as Dr. Mark Swerdlick says, a mentally digestible format where people can read it and go, okay, I see what he's saying there. I've also seen in my chiropractic lifetime a huge number of doctors embrace the immune system. And I know when I started writing about it, late 80s, I was widely criticized. And of course, we learned so much about it from AIDS research, and we've learned about it through COVID. So I would say the majority of the profession actually embraces the role of chiropractic in systemic health, and especially the immune system. But now we're even getting into mental health and, you know, brainstem and stuff like that. Again, they just don't know how to present it. They don't know how to market it, how to communicate it. You know, that's the changes I've seen.
Right. And yeah, and you talked about, you know, changes over time, and I've seen it in myself. I originally came out of Palmer College, and I would have been considered one of those super straights, except for the fact that I use an activator. So some of the super straights thought I was a mixer. But anyways, that's all been in chiropractic forever, right?
Yeah.
But I was, you know, very, I'm only adjusting people, and, you know, that's what I do. And if they get well, they're going to know it was the adjustment, that type of thing. And that was just my attitude, until I was attacked by Lyme disease.
Yeah.
And
I know.
Then it took, you know, and I had access to the greatest chiropractors in the world, and all the access I needed. It wasn't limited, and I was like you. I thought I was dying, and until we found out what was going on, and then another natural healthcare practitioner found it and said, hey, we need to start doing some of this nutritional stuff and homeopathy and some things like that. And that brought me back around.
Yeah.
And of course, getting adjusted all that time, but that really changed my perception on, hey, you know what? There's some other things that can really accentuate what we do. You know, it's great. We can adjust them till the cows come home. But if, you know, their nutrition and toxicity levels are like that, it doesn't matter how good my adjustment is.
It's one of those where, to me, all healthcare is about overcoming limitation of matter. Let's use toxicity as an example. And, BJ wrote about, nothing wrong with, hygiene in food, nutrition, but he kind of warned away from getting too involved. I don't think BJ in his wisdom ever could imagine the toxicity we have in food, in our water supplies, in our electrical. I just think he could have been. I don't think anybody could have.
No.
And it's there. And I know I had several chiropractors when I went in the hospital, and you saw the pictures, who sent me messages saying, "You're a sellout. You're a hypocrite. You should have just gotten adjusted." There's nothing you can say to that. There's nothing you can say to that.
No, exactly. And it is something in the profession, but I think in whole that I think we're getting less and less trained on subluxation, and some of the schools not even talking about
Correct.
it or saying it doesn't exist and things like that. But I think that is pushing us in the direction of a more whole health model that the doctor of chiropractic can help with. And, we've even got a nutrition department in my clinic now. And when I first started, I thought, people would say, "Should I take a vitamin?" And I'd say yes. And they'd say, "What kind?" And I said, "A good one."
Yeah.
That was not my expertise.
Yeah.
Now I knew another chiropractor that was expert in nutrition, so I'd say, well, if you need your atlas adjusted, you come see me. If you need nutrition, you go see this doctor, and that type of thing. So, but incorporating that in our clinic, I just see that we're able to help a lot more people and help keep those people out of the medical system. And again, I'm not anti-medical. They have their place, if if I get my arm cut off, then, take me to them. That's where they shine.
Sure.
They're brilliant at it.
Yep.
But they do not promote health. And so I think anything we can do along with chiropractic with the adjustment to promote health and help, give innate intelligence everything it needs to be able to do what God designed it to do in our bodies is really the key to moving forward with that.
I didn't talk about it earlier. I just ran out of time stuff, but I've told many doctors over the years, retention, which is getting checked regularly, adjusted if necessary, but if you don't need to be adjusted based on your whatever, celebrate that. But retention begins long before that patient ever walks in your clinic. Your whole message needs to be about that.
Yeah.
And I'm seeing more people embrace it.
Yeah.
And seeing how simple it is, as opposed to having to kick the bushes every month for 20 new ones and time away from their family and standing out of the flea market and all that kind of stuff. And I applaud them for doing it, but there's better ways. There really are.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's times when you're building a practice, you have to do those things.
Oh, I've done screenings at places you wouldn't even want to know. League night on bowling and,
Yeah, absolutely. And, we've all done those things along the way, but you should get to a point, if you're communicating correctly with your patients and communicating the chiropractic principle and the lifestyle, that you get to a point where you don't need to go out and
you do it because you want to.
You can't.
Yeah.
Not just because you don't want to, but because
I'm saying you go out and you do community events or community lectures because you want to.
Yeah.
Not because you need to.
Exactly.
And those actually, when you don't need it, they actually turn out a lot better than when you're.
Oh, absolutely.
Hands down.
Absolutely. You are absolutely correct.
I used to love doing events when I was working closer with clinics. We had a big screening coming up, and at an appropriate place, not a bowling alley. And if we had a huge week, just a monster week, it was so fun to go in there, and we just rocked it. But if we'd had a slow week and we're a little behind, that was a tough weekend. So always play ahead. Always play ahead whenever possible.
Yeah, absolutely. So, what do you think is going to allow the profession to go on? I'm reached a stage in my life. I have grandbabies now, and maybe in the next 10 years, maybe some great grandbabies. But I've always thought about, chiropractic, and early on I was fighting for chiropractic for me and my kids and that. But now I'm seeing, I've reached the age where I'm like, okay, well, I've got grandbabies that were just born. What is chiropractic going to look like in 20, 25 years from now, or beyond that? Are they going to have the opportunity to still have chiropractic as I know it today? What's your thoughts on that, Keith?
Well, it goes back to the school. I think the amount and the quality of the education in most, if not all, of the schools is not what it should be. But most chiropractors that are, if not all, that are widely successful at adjusting, at communicating, they learn it outside. They learn it at seminars. They learn it with a fantastic group like AMC, and that'll always be available. So they could shut down half the schools, which may not be the worst thing in the world, and people would learn what they had to do. And maybe it comes down to that, where it's just passed on and stuff like that. I don't know what's going to look like in 25 years. I worry more about our country as it exists and the freedoms,
right,
than I do where the chiropractic. Because if we don't have the freedom, we're not going to have the freedom to do anything, let alone chiropractic. We need to do our research a little bit different. Quality of life, patient-reported health care, long-term. We need to be setting up studies right now where we're studying generational health using whatever formula that is, and we have very sophisticated tests right now, with immune response and things like that. And the important thing in that research is, before we undertake it and fund it, because it requires funding, we have to have a plan to market it and communicate it. A lot of great research, and I hate to say this, a lot of it's come out of the upper cervical community, which is devoted to research. And I've given money, I've raised money for it, and they published this incredible research piece, and goes in the file, goes in the drawer. There was no plan, there was no marketing plan. How are we going to get this out?
Right.
How? And if we can't figure that out, maybe we need to hold off. But there are ways to always do it.
Yeah.
And I think the other thing about that is, we want to see how many people are under regular care, meaning checked, whatever that is. It's going to be different for everyone. But when I was first started in chiropractic, the battle cry was, we got to get every man, woman, and child under care on the planet. Yeah, that'd be great. It's a very naive strategy. There's not a single industry company in the world that goes after 100% market share. Because what happens is, when you spread the net too wide, you catch nothing. When I talk with the young docs on the phone, I go, and we're just chit-chatting. I go, let me give you one piece of advice. It's unsolicited. Give you one piece of advice. Be exclusive. Exclusive is good. You're Noah. You built the ark. You get to decide who comes on or not. And you know what? It's tough when you're young and growing, and maybe you don't have all the money to send someone away. It'll be the best thing you ever did.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah, very good. Well, and I agree with you. I think we've got to keep telling the chiropractic story, and one patient at a time, one clinic at a time, as we do with AMC, and keep chiropractors successful.
Yep.
So they can continue to fund whatever research or marketing that moves forward with that. And obviously we want to see the profession carry on. I remember Dr. Owen, he used to always say, listen, they may not call it chiropractic in the future, but the principle will always be there. They might cancel the name chiropractic, but they can't cancel the principle.
Correct.
That will carry on forever.
I agree with that.
And so whatever it looks like, and I would like to see it stay chiropractic and stay what I knew it as, and so forth, moving forward with that. And so, what you've done, I think, is I can't think of anybody else that has probably promoted chiropractic more, probably got more patients into offices directly or indirectly.
I think so.
Over your lifetime in chiropractic and promoting that of anybody out there.
Mm-hmm.
And so greatly appreciate that.
Thank you.
And, for those of you that don't know Keith, you can get on, I think it's Wasson at yahoo.com.
Well, that's my email.
That's your email. Is there a website?
New and in production. It's not ready yet.
That's
so
what I thought that you had said this morning. So
Yeah.
you've had to change up some things there.
Mm-hmm.
But if you can get in contact, email Keith, whatever it might be. If you don't have his materials or haven't seen what they are, they are the best, the top quality and educational, and everything is researched and backed up. Most of your quotes are not coming from chiropractic journals or that. You're getting quotes from the AMA and the
Journal of Neurology, Neuroscience,
epidemiology. I mean, it goes on and on.
The Lancet, which I love,
and
Cell, which I love.
Your ability to find these and search it out and then put it out there and relate it to what we do in chiropractic is just second to none. So
Thank you.
I encourage all of you, if you don't have those, I don't care what level your practice is at. If you're just getting open and trying to grow it, it'll help. And then if you've got a stable practice, you've got that referral practice, it just builds that whole culture of your practice of what it's about and getting people to be, on your team, if you will, on your mission. And that's what you want is your patients taking up your mission the way Keith has taken up the mission of us chiropractors out there. So thank you for that. And I don't know if you have a particular story or one of your favorite chiropractic stories.
Yeah, I'll tell you
that you want to tell as we finish up here.
Yeah, I'll tell you a chiropractic story. And I was new in chiropractic. I was still recovering. I was probably 4 or 5 weeks in, maybe a little bit longer than that, because I think I was back actually at work on it. So probably 2 months. And this chiropractor that I was seeing said, "You need to come to my new patient workshop." I said, "Okay." And he talked and never really got around the principle. It was MDs suck, drugs are bad. We don't mask symptoms. We get rid of them naturally, which is not very correct. I mean, for a lot of reasons. Find a good pillow, bend your legs when you lift, and don't eat sugar. And I'm sitting there taking notes. I even brought a little tape recorder. And I'm looking at him going, well, that's all good and well, but we didn't quite get it. So he says, well, come back next week. And I said, is it going to be any different? He goes, oh, yeah, it'll be completely different. Well, it was the same. But about halfway through his talk, there's a woman sitting next to me with a little baby boy, 9 months old. And the kid's just, just fussing. And the mother's trying to rock him, like that. And the kid was interrupting the class. He's wheezing and stuff like that. And everybody's kind of looking. And she's right in the front row. And this doc, he's wearing a white lab coat. He stops and he goes, "Ma'am," he goes, "let me see your baby." She kind of held back like, what? And he goes, "Let me see your baby." And she hands him to him, and there was a table right behind him. And he lays the baby down, and he does the palpation, and he does such a gentle adjustment that it's almost, you almost couldn't tell, especially to the untrained eye. And he picks the baby back up, and all of a sudden, this kid just like turns different colors of the rainbow, starts vomiting, snots come out of his nose, his ears, he's pooping, all that. And it's all over this guy. I mean, this guy's just covered in feces and vomit. And people are screaming. I mean, people are like, the mother's freaking out. I'm freaking. I'm ready to call the police on this guy. What did he do to this kid? And literally about 30 seconds later, all of a sudden, the kid stopped expelling. And the guy took one of the towels that he had nearby and wiped the kid clean, He said, he's fine now. He was subluxated. And I went, whoa. And that was a huge impact on me. The guy couldn't communicate it verbally, but he demonstrated that to me. And that was a huge, and I've seen similar stuff, but that's one of my favorite early on stories, you know.
Very good.
Yeah.
Very good. Well, I always like to hear those stories, no matter how long I've been around chiropractic and so forth. But we really appreciate you coming on with us today, Keith. Again, I can't thank you enough for what you've been doing the last 41 years. And I know you're going to keep on doing it, whether it's another 20, 40, or 50 years, whatever the good Lord blesses us with. Yeah. But thank you, and anything we can do from our level to support you, you know we'll do that. So thank you all out there for joining us on the Chiropractic Podcast, and you can get a hold of Keith Wasson if you would like to look at his materials and what he has. And if you want any more information about AMC, you can go to amcfamily.com, and you can get everything on there that you need to look at more of what we do here.